Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Rundown. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming to you live from SHOT Show 2025. We're having a good time, and it's time to talk about the news. And you guys also know what day it is, right? That's right. It's Throat Punch Thursday.
Guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Who's ready? Throat Punch Thursday, bitch.
Gotta love Throat Punch Thursday. Oh, I love that. And it's funny. It's like every day is Throat Punch Thursday now with everything that's going on with Donald Trump now being in the White House. The winning just keeps going on and on and on. And whether it's, what's funny is whether it's the stuff that he's just doing that's just phenomenal for the country, or the way in which he's trolling the media and the Democrats. Either way, it's just fun to watch. It's fun to read. And in the end, it's them getting throat punched. So why would I complain about that? It's obviously a good thing. But look, we're going to get into a lot of that today. But before we do, we're going to start with a quick shout out to our sponsors. As you know, we always do. We're going to start with Hitman Industries rifle and pistol caliber barrels available for you to purchase today at hitmanindustries.net. We've got the California Republican Assembly working to help elect conservatives at all level of government. School board all the way up to President of the United States. Just go to cragop.org. That's cragop.org. And then you've got the best in concealed carry tactical holsters. That's Hog Holsters. You'll find them at hogholsters.com. That's HAWG holsters.com, helping Americans wear guns. Oh, by the way, make sure if you go there, use discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces, one word, and you will get a discount on this. And then finally, you saw him earlier today. That's right, our good friend Mr. Scott Peckham was here from uscombatgear.com, where you can find all things tactical, except a gun. It's US Combat Gear. All right, let's get into today's program, and we'll start with Trump explaining the January 6th protesters getting their pardon. Now, I got to be honest with you. I was all for them getting a pardon, right? I didn't have any problem with people getting a pardon. But admittedly, there were some concerns because there were some people who were engaged in violent confrontations with law enforcement. Some. I can't tell you, I'll be honest with you, I cannot tell you how many. I do not know exactly how many there were, but I do know that there were some. And they also received pardons. And Donald Trump did a interview with Sean Hannity. And in that interview, he went out of his way to kind of explain why all of the January 6th protesters got pardons. In particular, why he wanted to explain why these folks, in particular, why some of the violent ones actually also received pardons.
You run on a platform. You were very straightforward. You said you would pardon these people that were sentenced for January 6th.
Yeah, totally.
You did. The only criticism or pushback I've seen is about people that were convicted or were involved in incidents where they were violent with police. Why did they get a pardon?
Number of reasons. Number one, they were in there for 3.5 years, a long time. And in many solitary confinement, treated like nobody's ever been treated. It's treated so badly. They were treated like the worst criminals in history. And you know what they were there for? They were protesting the vote because they knew the election was rigged and they were protesting the vote. And that you should be allowed to protest a vote. You should be allowed to. When the day comes...
You shouldn't be able to invade the Capitol.
No, ready? Most of the people were absolutely innocent. Okay, but forgetting all about that, these people have served horribly a long time. It would be very, very cumbersome to go and look. You know how many people we're talking about? 1,500 people. Almost all of them should not have been, this should not have happened. And the other thing is this, some of those people with the police, true, but they were very minor incidents, okay? They get built up by a couple of fake guys that are on CNN all the time.
Nobody watches.
They were very minor incidents, and it was time.
So his explanation is and again, I get this. First of all, overwhelming majority of the 1,500 cases that we're talking about were individuals who were not involved in a violent insurrection. They did not do anything violent. Yet in many of these cases, they're facing, 3.5 years? 3.5 years in jail. And in many cases, and he's 100% correct, there are a number of these folks that were put in solitary confinement. Can you imagine being put in solitary confinement for 3.5 years? I mean, that'd be kind of rough. I still, once again, I still will say this. I still believe that time should have been taken. I mean, he just became president. Should have taken a little bit of time just to find out the ones who specifically were involved and engaged in the violent activity. First of all, just look at who was charged with it. Narrow down to the folks, so pardon everybody else except those who were charged with something violent, right? Then take the time to investigate each one of those cases and make sure that, find out whether it was justified or whether it wasn't justified. Well, let me clarify, whether the charges were justified, not whether or not what they did was justified. And then figure that out. And then the ones who, some of them, quite frankly, could, even if you decided that 3.5 years was enough time, you could have commuted their sentences without providing the pardon, once again, for someone who potentially violently attacked a police officer. Anyway, I got a problem with it. Overall, I mean, once again, with Donald Trump, you learn this. You got to take the good with the bad. You got to realize that some of the decisions that he makes are impulsive and he's trying to get stuff done. But overall, this is a decision that in the end, I think more good was done than bad. Because once again, most of these folks did not involved in anything except what he said. They were protesting the fact that there was, that they were protesting voting. In some cases, they were ushered in. I mean, literally you had in there, once again, there is video evidence, photographic evidence that there were Capitol Police holding doors open and allowing people to simply walk right into the Capitol. Well, have they really broken the law now? Right? If law enforcement invites you in, have you really broken the law? The overwhelming majority of the folks we're talking about are them. They didn't break anything. They didn't destroy anything. They didn't attack anybody. So anyway, I don't know that I fully buy, once again, I'll say it again, I don't fully buy the why some of the more violent folks did. But that having been said, it is what it is. At least he provided an explanation, which, by the way, just goes to show you, he's already done more press and media and answered more questions in less than a week of being president than Joe Biden did his entire time, 4 years in office. I mean, I appreciate this. You want to talk about being transparent. This is transparent. This is someone who, even if you disagree with his decisions, at least he's answering the questions, right? Sean Hannity is a friend, but he's not just taking questions from friendly media. He's taking them from everybody. So anyway, hats off to President Trump. He's doing some very, very good things. The next thing that I wanted to touch on actually has to do with something else that the president had taken a position on, and that is his executive order on birthright citizenship. And a lot of people don't know this, but he put forth an executive order that basically said that just because you are born in the United States, just because you came across, in other words, if you come across the border and you have a child and you're not here legally, does not mean that your child is now a citizen. Whether you come into the country legally or illegally. If you're not a citizen, it does not necessarily mean that your child automatically becomes a citizen. Now, obviously, this is something that puts the concept of birthright citizenship up, it raises some legal questions. And so one of the first things that happened was, someone sued. Well, of course they were going to sue. What did you think they were going to do? That was kind of the whole point, right? Donald Trump did this. He did this whole thing. He put this out there because he wanted it to be challenged so that we could actually have some sort of a legal opinion, some sort of a legally binding opinion that tells us what exactly do you mean by birthplace citizenship? Because one of the things, and I heard Ben Shapiro kind of explain this really well, is that the Constitution, when it talks about being born in the United States or the law, it also talks about you're subject to the laws of that jurisdiction. Well, if you're not a citizen, are you subject? And that's the real question we're talking about here. These are not necessarily, just if you've come here illegally, are you really subject to the laws? Well, a federal district court judge has temporarily blocked Trump's birthright citizenship order. It says here, a federal district court judge on Thursday temporarily blocked President Trump's executive order aimed at limiting birthright citizenship, the first skirmish in what promises to be a protracted legal battle over the new administration's agenda. Senior U.S. District Judge John C. I'm not even going to try and pronounce that name, heard 25 minutes of arguments and then issued an order from the bench blocking the policy from taking effect for 14 days. There will be a further briefing on a preliminary injunction to permanently block the executive order while the case proceeds. Quote, I've been on the bench for over 4 decades. The Reagan appointee said, I can't remember another case where the question presented is as clear as this one. This is a blatantly unconstitutional order. The case comes from 4 states, Washington, Arizona, Illinois, and Oregon, sought to block an order before it is supposed to take effect in late February. It's one of 5 lawsuits filed by a Democrat Attorney General and immigrant rights organizations challenging the order, which seeks to limit the automatic birthright citizenship to children of U.S. citizens and green card holders as unconstitutional. Now, once again, let's make this very clear. The push here is not about, all right, if you are here legally and you are born, and your child is born in the United States, then you're a citizen. If you are the children of U.S. citizens and you're born here, you're a citizen. The key is this, is you have people who are operating under the assumption that if I can sneak across the border, if I can get in this country illegally, right, and I can manage to have a child while I'm here, then that child automatically becomes a citizen. And that then the country is obligated to allow the entire family to stay here because the child that they had here is a U.S. citizen. I think it needs to be challenged, and I think that's exactly what Donald Trump wants. He at the very least wants to know what's the law, because that does not sound right, especially when you understand that, once again, they're supposed to be subject to the laws of the jurisdiction of the United States, meaning they're supposed to be here legally. If you have broken the law to come here, you have at least declared yourself not subject to the law. Well, if you've declared yourself not subject to the law, then that means that your child is not subject to the law. Therefore, you're not a citizen. I'm not a lawyer. I did not sleep at a Holiday Inn Express last night, so I could be 100% wrong. But I'd like to hear the argument. And because I know that conservative judges generally tend to follow the Constitution. Even when we as conservatives don't like it, even when it doesn't necessarily benefit what we'd like, we know we support the Constitution and we know their job is to follow the Constitution. So I have all the confidence in the world, not so much in the Ninth Circuit where this is going to wind up coming out of. I don't have a lot of faith in them, but I know that by the time it gets to the Supreme Court, I know that we'll be able to have some real conversations about this. I know they will have some substantive conversations about this, and we'll actually have a protracted government or legal opinion that will explain to us that even if we don't like it, at least we understand it, right? I'm all about that. I'm like, look, we're not always going to agree on stuff, but at the very least we need to be doing is seeking understanding, right? So I think this is a good thing. I'm not going to sit here and tell you the injunction is a good thing, but I think the fact that the legal wheels are moving. And by the way, California's also filed a suit. There's going to be plenty of lawsuits, and there's going to be plenty of places that are going to not going to put a stranglehold on it. But like I said, in the end, it's good that we're having this discussion because it's a discussion that needs to be had. Moving right along, Trump tells businesses at Davos, they better either invest in the United States or you're going to want, put it this way, what he's telling them is, if you're going to expand your business, if you're going to grow your business, if you're going to start manufacturing and you think you're going to do it outside the United States, in Canada or in Mexico or in South America or in some other country, and then you're going to ship your products here to the United States, and all is going to be well? No. He's like, look, if you're going to grow your business here in the United States, and it'll be more profitable for you. That's exactly what he told business leaders over at Davos. It says here, Trump tells Davos elite to invest in U.S. or face tariffs. President Donald Trump used an address Thursday to the World Economic Forum to promise global elites lower taxes if they bring manufacturing to the U.S. and threatened to impose tariffs if they don't. Speaking by video from the White House to the annual summit in Davos, Switzerland, on his third full day in office, Trump ran through his flurry of executive actions since his swearing in and claimed that he had a massive mandate, yes he did, from the American people to bring change. He laid out a carrot and stick approach for private investment in the U.S. Come make your product in America, and we will give you among the lowest taxes as any nation on earth, Trump said. But if you don't make your product in America, which is your prerogative, then very simply you will have to pay a tariff. Differing amounts, but a tariff, which will direct hundreds of billions of dollars and even trillions of dollars into our treasury to strengthen our economy and pay down debt under the Trump administration. Now, once again, I'll just say this is why this is important. I'm not a fan of tariffs because, as you know, and I'll say it again, tariffs are not a tax on the manufacturer or the people producing the product. It's a tax on the end user, on the people who wind up buying it. So whatever products you buy from these other countries where they're going to be coming from, the cost of that product is going to go up because of the tariffs. So I've never been a fan of it, but the one thing and I've conceded this in the past, I will say this, the threat of tariffs have been effective in getting not just other countries or not just other manufacturers to change their minds, right? Because in many cases they're like, well, they do a cost-benefit analysis. And if they don't save any money, or if it costs them more money to produce it in Mexico or in Canada or in China and ship it here and then pay the tariffs on top of that, well, then they're going to lose money. So why not make money by getting lower taxes here in the United States and not having to pay tariffs? So that's the decision that they're going to make. But the other benefit that it has is for other countries. They start to change their decisions because oftentimes what's going to happen is those countries, the countries that they're manufacturing from, they have a tariff on our products going there. So at the very least, what Donald Trump is going to say, look, we're going to make it fair, right? If your country, let's say Canada, is taxing our dairy products that are going there, they're putting a tariff on our dairy products going there, well then we're going to do the same exact thing on products coming to us. So in other words, other countries don't get to create an unlevel playing field. And that's what he wants to do. And once again, the threat of tariffs have worked. Not a big fan of tariffs, but the threat of tariffs have always been, have done really, really well by the United States. So once again, I got to tell you, I like what he's doing. I like where he's going with this. I like the fact that he is on these folks about this as well. Anyway, good job once again, Mr. President. Like I said, you just keep winning, bruh. You just keep winning. And it's hard not to be impressed with the success that Donald Trump is having. All right, moving on to our next topic. We've got ATF is ignoring the president's DEI order. Now, for those, many of you may not know, but the president basically ended all DEI in all departments. In fact, in many cases, they had already shuttered their DEI offices. A lot of departments had already done it. Now they're doing it again. Now those that haven't done it are now being told you have to do it. No more diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. Now, that does not mean that they don't want to encourage diversity. What they're not going to do is they're not going to use race as the primary factor or as a significant factor in who gets hired. What they're going to do is they're going to work to increase the diversity of the applicant pool and let the best candidates rise to the top. That's what they're going to do, whether it's government contracting or whether it's government jobs. And I don't think anyone has a problem. Well, let me clarify. We all know that folks over on the left have a problem with that. We all know that some of the folks that are running some of their agencies have a problem with that. One of those agencies happens to be our good friends over at the ATF. Well, according to Bearing Arms, the ATF is reportedly ignoring Trump's DEI executive order. Let's see what they have to say here. It says, President Donald Trump has been busy here in his first week back in office. Executive orders are fast and furious. Many aren't really being noticed, while others have made a massive splash. For example, Trump ordered all federal DEI employees to be put on administrative leave. The goal is ultimately to terminate them. What does this have to do with our guns, gun rights, or gun control? Well, it shouldn't have anything. It shouldn't have anything. I'd have been delighted to never talk about it here. Unfortunately, ATF is trying to engage in some shenanigans, and someone realized it. This is from Gun Owners of America, went ahead and posted this. It says, ATF is circumventing President Trump's executive orders to crush racist DEI programs. Now, what you're seeing here is two different photos. Let me pull this up real quick. We'll pull this up here on Twitter. So if you notice here, this particular employee, her name is Lisa Boykin. She's listed as the Chief Diversity Officer, right? In the Office of the Director, meaning she's a DEI employee and she was supposed to be laid off, right? Or at least she's supposed to be, not laid off, she's supposed to be on leave, right? On paid leave. And this is what happened 2 days later on the ATF website. And says now she's a senior executive. So all of a sudden, rather than doing what the president ordered the ATF to do, they just changed her position, and now she's now she's an executive, and she is now not on paid leave. Now, folks, really, this is what we're doing now. We're just flat out lying and violating the orders of the President of the United States. Really? I mean, I don't know her. For all I know, she could have gotten a parallel move or something like that. But to do it so blatantly at such a time, why not do this? Why not go through a process? Why not wait a few weeks? Say, look, we hired her back or moved her to a new position. Why would you do that 2 days later? You look dumb. Of course, we all know the folks over at the ATF. They're not always the sharpest knives on the drawers. Knives in the drawers. That's kind of sad to say, but sadly it is also kind of true. Anyway, hopefully this is the only instance where we will see the folks over at the ATF not following the president's orders, because I have a feeling he's got some pretty significant orders that are going to be coming down the pike here pretty soon. All right, folks, that brings us to our parting shots. Parting shots are brought to you by Hog Holsters. Just go to hogholsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces. Get your Hog Holster today. All right, let me see here. Here we got another list here. You know, you may have, I don't know if you've been watching, but during the signing of executive orders, Peter Doocy mentioned to the president that, doesn't the predecessor leave a letter for you in the desk? And it was literally like he didn't even know that it existed, like this was the thing that you do. And I'm thinking to myself, we should know that, because he was supposed to have left a letter 4 years ago for Joe Biden. I'm wondering if he did. Maybe he didn't. It said, you stole the election. Anyway, just being funny. But anyway, but he found a letter, and he was almost just this close to actually reading the letter. At least he pretended like he was this close to reading the letter out loud. But anyway, that having been said, he found a letter anyway. So the Babylon Bee put together another list that I found is going to be hilarious. And this one is 10 things found by Trump's team when cleaning out the White House. Not just the list, but let's read some of the other things. Let's read some of the other things that they found. Let's see here. Number 1, 74 bags of white powdery substance. Test results are still pending to identify the substance, but you know what it was. Several leftover cases of adult diapers. A chairlift. Okay, that's funny. One Resolute desk drawer filled with nothing but ice cream cones. He did kind of like ice cream. A discarded copy of the U.S. Constitution crumpled under the couch. Lord knows he had no idea what the Constitution was for. A cash-filled envelope labeled for Zelensky. Numerous posters pinned up in the hallways. saying, "Your name is Joe, the year is 2024, and you are the President of the United States." Complete DVD sets of Matlock Murder, She Wrote, and a dog with a blog. A golden copy of a Half-Life 3 Joe, and had been keeping from the world this whole time. Okay, and 11,000 Georgia ballots marked for Trump from 2020 election. Oh, good stuff, good stuff. All right, folks, well, that brings us to the end of today's show. We very much appreciate you tuning in. But before we go, one more quick shout out to our sponsors. We've got Hitman Industries. You'll find them at hitmanindustries.net. Rifle and pistol caliber barrels available for you to purchase today. The California Republican Assembly, the conscience of the Republican Party. Check them out at cragop.org. And then you've got the best in concealed carry tactical holsters at hogholsters.com. Look them up today, HAWGholsters.com. And then finally, you can find all things tactical except the gun at uscombatgear.com. That's going to be it for today's program. We appreciate you tuning in. We appreciate you liking and sharing the program and encouraging your friends to do the same. We will be back later today with more interviews from SHOT Show 2025. You folks take care. Have fun. If you get a chance, send a few downrange. We'll holler at you later.